Breaking news. Children actors are coming out to speak about their experience on Disney, Nickelodeon, and even other TV networks. And then the mom vlogger from 8 Passengers, Ruby Franke, has been arrested for harsh parenting alongside as her business partner. Let's get into this video.
The matter of state of Utah versus Franke. Ms. Franke, is anyone pressuring you to enter into this agreement?
No.
He's obviously covered in one.
The house the boy says he escaped from, Jody Hildebrand's house.
I'm Jody Hildebrand, and I'm Ruby Franke.
Jody was a marriage counselor. One call, Ruby's 12-year-old son and her 10-year-old daughter were taken to the hospital.
They find handcuffs.
Jody and Ruby were arrested and charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse.
Okay, welcome back. So let's talk about the sentencing and the abuse that Ruby Franke did.
Okay.
What was your take on it?
She's crazy. Like loco crazy. Yeah, she's just a very abusive lady, it seems like, and she deserves to be in jail.
Do you think, because I think she's also playing it off that her kids had something wrong with them and that's their behavior's the reason why, like, that they had demons inside of them?
No, I mean it's all just like, you know, she was just kind of trying to make them think that. But I mean, those kids were emaciated and, you know, left,
Yeah.
you know, alone for such a period of time. And that boy, what was his name?
Yeah.
Like, he was lucky to get out. And, you know, if he didn't get out of there,
then he would probably not survive. Either would probably the younger girl.
right,
be.
right.
Which is like sad because, like, yeah, they started on YouTube, and I know like they, like, a lot of people have different religion, and
Yeah.
it's different. Like, you don't have to agree on their religion, but I also think no matter what religion or what you believe in, like, you should never ever treat your kid like they did.
Right.
Like, those two things should kind of be separate in the sense that a religion shouldn't coincide as like a part of abuse.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they just use their religion, like, to justify the abuse, right?
I don't know, I would necessarily say their religion was part of it. I think connection together was just a cult. It didn't necessarily have to do with the religion. The therapist, Jody Hildebrand, which was like a marriage counselor and has some other like supposed life coach. That's is like they marketed themselves as. I don't think, even though yes, they believed in like a certain religion, but I don't necessarily think that religion, like, that was their religion, but it was kind of separate from connections. Connection was the cult. It had nothing to do with like the religion. Like, they might have got to that, but I don't think it has to do with the religion. Okay. But I know it's like a very like tough topic to like really talk about it. Like, for me, I couldn't like see any other child. Like, when I watched that ABC documentary and like you heard more in depth about the abuse that she wrote in her journals.
Yeah. And
you actually saw the injuries. Like, that is like my field, is to be like in like the social working field, and like that in therapy field. And that has really opened my eyes. Like, I'm like really shocked that people can do that. Like, I've heard other stories of like parents like kind of locking their kids away and like beating them or whatever, like abuse. But to see a 12-year-old that doesn't look like a 12-year-old, his like bones are, his like skin is basically just showing all his bones, which is just like sad. And then the officers that they said, they couldn't tell that E was a girl. They thought it was a boy. And it was so sad. And like the officers were like encouraging her to talk by getting her food because she was so hungry. She ate what? Like 3 large pizzas or something?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like something like that.
I was like, holy crap, that's how hungry she was for food because they haven't fed her. And then hearing in the journals of what the mom did to R, especially on his birthday, even though he didn't know what day it was, if it was his birthday even, to have him stand out in the sun, and they live in Utah in a desert during the summer, and that is just with no shoes, and I don't think he even had a shirt on. And I'm like, I live near a beach, and we're always taught about sunscreen and care because they can hurt your body. But that just blows my mind. Like, I can't think about doing that to my son. I couldn't do it to an adopted kid that I adopt or a foster kid I have. I can't do it to any kid or even a kid that I'm watching. I can't harm them. Like, yes, you can get mad at a kid and you can discipline, but to like say harsh discipline as they say they're doing, that is not discipline. That is abuse, and that should not be happening. Thank goodness R had the courage to leave and find someone for help. Thank goodness for that couple that he found to call the police and make aware of this. This is a problem today. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what's the line, right, babe? Like, like there's discipline, and then it's like, then there's like punishment, which is basically like abuse, to where it's like too intense and becomes really just punishment, which is end up just really being abuse.
Well, what would be abuse for California, which is you cannot use any foreign object as like a discipline. Like, you can't use a spoon, a belt, because those will leave marks on your kid.
Sandal?
No. You legally can only hit with your hand when you're giving a spanking if you choose to go that way. Not saying you should, not agreeing, if you choose to go that way. You cannot leave a mark if you discipline your kid like that. You can't even leave a mark. Your hand cannot leave a mark. A belt, if it's left a mark and your kid tells someone, you'll have an open case with CPS, at least in California, if they take it really serious, as they should. And that's what I also, as it's part of my field, I felt so sad that CPS didn't do the investigation more. This is what causes this. If you don't look, watch their channel, keep an eye on that family. Like, if you don't keep the eye on that family or whatever, like follow up on the case, they've pretty much led to those kids being failed and getting so harmed. And no offense, I think the dad not necessarily knew the parts about when they moved to like Jody's place, but to do with his video, I knew he has to have known that some of the parenting that they displayed on their YouTube channel when they were on and he was present, that some of that parenting was really strict and too harsh. You don't make your 4 to 6 year old kid pack their lunch and make sure that they make their lunch and take it to school. Yeah. And if you get a call and their kid doesn't have their lunch, you should bring them a lunch. either go through a fast food place or make them a lunch and drop it off at the school. Like, you don't just say, oh, my kid didn't make her their lunch, it was their responsibility. No, a kid is a kid. That should not be their responsibility. That's what a parent's supposed to be for.
Right. Yeah, I would say he's responsible too. I mean, he should know what's going on, and he's, as the parent, I mean, he's totally responsible for his children's well-being. So for him to just pretend or just to act like nothing was wrong or that the abuse was okay, no, it makes him just as bad, I think. And, you know.
So I hope you guys go and watch the documentary if you are, like, you know, open to hear more of the graphics of the documentary. It is a little graphic. Do not watch it with young children, especially. And beware. It is really sad and really kind of gruesome on some of the photos of the wounds that the kids have suffered. But I hope you enjoyed us talking about that, and I'll see you in the next clip about the Quiet on Set documentary.
Who could we possibly go acts and crimes in defending this person?
It embarrasses me. I shouldn't have done it, and that I regret. And I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Okay, let's now talk about the documentary series called Quiet on Set. They just released episode 5, so we should watch that soon. Yeah. It's really interesting to see how they put the documentary together, but to hear all the other child actors talk about their experience acting as a child and like how their parents were on set, how the industry feels about parents being on set, and all of that facts. Because if I know we want to put in our kid maybe in modeling, and I would say it's pretty much similar kind of to entertainment, not as severe obviously, but if our son chooses to go into the industry, I feel like after watching this documentary series, and I have some of those clips in here, but I can't show all of it because, of course, copyright. I can only do a little bit. Okay, so if our child decides to go into like the entertainment field, this documentary has enlightened me of like how the industry is on kids, or how it was. I don't know if I would say it's about probably the same, but the laws have got stricter about it, at least for the major TV networks. For example, I watched Honey Boo Boo. Since in Georgia they don't really have the law about the Coogan account, and as we saw, like, her mom stole a lot of her money, even though she said to the family online, on interviews and to her new husband that she put at least 80% and only spent 20% of Alana's earnings, which we figured out later on in the episode, which you've never watched, but that was not the case. Like, she spent 90% of it.
Mama June?
Account, no matter what state you live in, what network you're using, it should not just go to the parent. There should be like someone that's like a financial advisor for young children actors for each, at least each network, so they can assess, oh, is it good? It should have a Coogan account for every state. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's really with the parents, right? The parents are the ones responsible for the children, but at the same time to avoid...
Yeah, but I feel like if you give it to the parents are going to go like, oh, it's a paycheck for me because it's my kid, but they're under the age of really 16 to really handle the money. They can't handle it.
I mean, they should just have options, right? Like you said, a Coogan account to where they can put the money in.
No,
Yeah.
I think it should be federal law that every state requires you in the industry of entertainment as a child to have a Google account because it protects the kid. And by law, at least in California, the minimum is 15% that you can put in
Yeah, so it would be
of the paycheck
okay.
if they
So
earn that time.
so yeah, so wouldn't it be like ideal if the parent were to put in, let's say that amount goes up, let's say like 50%, right? Like a minimum 50%. So at least 50% of the check.
That's
that the
what I
child
think.
earns,
The minimum should not be 15%.
That's pretty
It
low.
should be a lot higher to
Yeah.
make it so that these child actors don't feel like that. I know from the documentary series, like, there are some weird people, and then putting adult jokes also in kids' TV, like a lot of the shows like iCarly, Zoe 101, and a lot of other Nickelodeon shows. I know my parents are like, oh, we can't watch Nickelodeon, it's inappropriate. But I never really realized until now when I look back at the documentary series and watching it, how right they were. Like, there are so many adult jokes that I didn't pick up on until now. Like, it's insane, like, how inappropriate it was. When you look and watch that documentary, if you haven't, it's really good and eye-opening. Of how sad it was for Drake Bell, his situation. He finally came out public about being abused by what was it, some kind of coach that was
The dialogue coach.
Yeah, the dialogue coach. For the child actors, how sick it was that he preyed on him, built his trust until he knew the right moment to abuse him.
Take advantage, yeah.
And he knew how to do it. He persuaded his mom, saying, oh, I can help out, and like doing all this stuff. So the mom believed that he was a good guy because he seemed like it. But to be honest, he was not. So we really felt the true colors of Brian Peck after that. But to see a lot of actors that I have grew up watching actually supported Brian Peck, like in his statement. But a couple actors who have supported him after watching the documentary series, they actually have retracted their like support. They're like, oh, Brian Peck just like called me. He's like, oh, I need you to support me on this court hearing I have. But he never gave any details of the court hearing. So they already submit it to the court by the time that they go to court and actually hear it in person. By that time, they can't really withdraw like their support letters, which I would say is sad. Knowing how he
manipulated.
Yeah, tricked his mom of trusting him and being the manager of her son. And then you also saw another predator that they had on that abused a couple of the little girls that were on the shows. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Dan Snyder's inappropriate like
everything, jokes
and slime that he had on Zoe 101, some other stuff, how he mistreated some of the actors, especially on iCarly.
And all that.
Yeah. Oh, right. And how he treated also his writers. Mm-hmm. Were very opening. Like, it really has opened my eye to like the industry of like how, like, I kind of knew it was like kind of like not of a good field to be in necessarily, but to hear it like it's really bad for kids. So hopefully this documentary will make the federal government really crack down and make like stronger guidelines for the industry to follow when there's children actors, having teachers on set and parents are mandatory instead of it being optional. Each child should have a parent or a guardian that is in charge of them.
Right, Maddie. Yeah, it's like, so as parents now, we have really no, like, not reason, but like we have no like desire, or like we're just so concerned that if we were to expose our son to the industry, that, you know, something like this could happen, you know. I mean, whether or not like the guidelines get better or stronger, it's already put like a really bad taste in our mouth. So it's like, we don't want anything to happen to our son if he were to go into that industry. So it's just, right, it's like, it's,
Yeah, but what do
we'd be
you
so
what do you
cautious.
think about like YouTube as well? Like, I don't mind like having him in a few videos, but I don't feel like my videos should revolve around my son necessarily, like every single video he should be in. That's why I usually just do sit down videos and talk about like mom stuff,
Yeah.
and that. And at a certain point, like when he's like probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5, and he can actually verbally tell me like, I want to be in some videos or I don't want to be on videos. That's his choice if he wants to or not be on. I'm not going to force him. I don't want to make my content around my kid. Like, I might talk about being a mom, I might talk about my kid, but I'm not necessarily going to always show him. Like, I'm probably going to post him online, like on like do like stuff like about his private life, where he goes to school.
Well, of course.
Well, not trying to do the school part, but like trying to do all more like his medical issues, if he has any. I want to keep his life as private as possible. Like, yes, there might be photos, but I'm not going to go to in depth all about him in the photo.
Yeah, and you shouldn't, right?
No.
Yeah, but like kind of going back, like to the what you're saying, just about the industry and everything, and what this documentary has like exposed.
And so has the Ruby Franke documentary has like also shown of like both the YouTube field, and then seeing how like the way that she went, and then seeing how the industry is going. It kind of is like opening my eyes of like, yes, there has been danger, but how widely. And it's also making me also want to make sure, what is my kid watching? Is it age appropriate?
Yeah.
Like, is it bad for them and all of that? So I'm like trying to go into more depth. I'm not saying like he always has screen time, or when we choose to have our kid ever have screen time. Like, we want to be cautious.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's like, it just like you said, like now that we've seen these documentaries, it's like it's just not safe for a child to be in the entertainment industry. It just seems like there's so many things that could go wrong, that could happen, and what they need to do, like you said, is like, well, they just really need to focus on the people that are you know, in these different positions of authority, or you know, as part of the production, and vet these people. Make sure that they're not, you know, sex offenders. Make sure they're not, you know, have like convicted felons or have a history of abuse or something. It's like, that should be a red flag right there. Make sure that these people are not put in these positions, right, to be in the industry if they're, you know, they have a history.
I know we can probably go on more about this. There's so much time to talk about this. But there's going to be more cases and more cases that we hear over time about either YouTube or about other parents. Like, you've heard, there's another case, but I won't get into it now, about a mom that's in, I forgot what state. She's likely going to serve life in prison for what she did to her kid. But, you know,
protect your children.
Yes, at all costs, your children always come first, to the most part, and then, so
Have a good weekend.